Welcome back to Unpack, where we unpack what hurts so we can heal what's hidden, providing a safe space for men of color to be heard and seen. I'm MTS. I'm not a mental health practitioner, but I am a patient. Like many men, I know what it's like to carry wounds that no one sees and struggles to find the words to talk about them. Today's session is going to be uncomfortable, misunderstood, and too often ignored. We're talking about Black men, sexuality, grooming, and the double standards that have caused many men to suffer in silence. Joining me again today is Dr. Iman Ross, a licensed professional counselor and behavioral expert with more than 25 years of experience serving youth families across the country. Dr. Ross currently serves as the clinical coordinator for the Dallas County Juvenile Department. Dr. Ross, welcome back to Unpack, and thank you for joining.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here.
What's been going on since the last time we spoke?
Man, a lot of positive things. Been hearing a lot of positive feedback from the last podcast, just helping our families, helping our community in the in-between time, and just staying Black.
Yes, indeed. Hey, while we on it, happy Juneteenth.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Happy Juneteenth to you too, for sure.
Yes, sir. Well, this topic, it's going to be a little heavy today. It's something that we rarely talk about openly. Audience, people listening, we're discussing Black men and grooming and the sexual double standards that's placed on men of color. Dr. Ross, earlier you shared with me that 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual abuse as a child, with the average age of abuse contact around 9 years old. Many boys experience sexual contact before they're capable of giving consent. Yet society portrays Black boys as sexually aggressive, but many are victims. Why do you think that is, man?
That's a great question. Victimization is real. And young boys, young men, they can't give consent. We have to call it for what it is. It's statutory rape. A lot of these young brothers have sexual contact before the age of majority, meaning 18. In the state of Texas, it's 17, So many of them before the age of 13 or 14 are having sexual contact, and they cannot consent.
Wow.
They don't really understand what's going on, even though the expectation is that they're going to be able to go with it and it's some kind of gift or something.
Yeah.
It's rape.
I don't hear that word used often when it comes to men. Yeah, that's something else. When Black men, if they finally decide to go ahead and have the courage to say what happened, those who survived feel ignored, dismissed, and suffer in silence.
Many men, young men and grown men, are ashamed to report their sexual abuse. A lot of times it's written off as a joke, it's minimized. You would be surprised how many times it's seen as horseplay when really it's a sexual assault. I mean, if it happened in the reverse, if a young lady or a woman was coming to report the same thing that happened to some men, it would be taken very seriously versus what these young men have experienced. And it unfortunately creates this stigma that men can't be raped, or it's a lot of times men's pain gets overlooked and it gets shoved down and more pain and trauma comes into the community.
I'm glad you said that. Are there any real consequences when it goes untreated?
Absolutely. I mean, shame, doubt, depression, substance use, abuse of others. There's poor performance on jobs or in school. I mean, physical symptoms come from it. Ramifications of sexual diseases. There's a number of different things that it impacts for years. It's not just a one-off. This can impact you for years to come.
Dr. Ross, we often hear about violence against women, and rightfully so. But many people, I think they're surprised to learn that Black men also experience partner violence and sexual victimization.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that. Are there any numbers out there?
Sure. Sure. I mean, CDC has done some studies on that, and they're absolutely have shown that at least 40% of Black men are impacted by intimate partner violence. It may not go reported. As a matter of fact, only about 14% of intimate partner violence, stalking, or other types of abuse, physical abuse. Yes, men get beat up by women. All those things can happen, and it goes underreported.
Mr. Ross, it sounds like society does not accept men being harmed. And they definitely understand the concept of women being harmed, but they don't believe that a man can be harmed. Why is that?
There's a whole idea around what men are, what can men do. We're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be able to fight off a woman or fight off another man. Oftentimes, young girls are told, "Hey, don't go outside at dark by yourself, or always be aware." But young men are allowed to take the trash out at night or roam around without any real discussion about what's going on. Or men are expected to be the protectors in a difficult situation. However, men experience victimization. We
Hmm.
do. We get beat up by other men and women. We get victimized by other men and women, physically, sexually, emotionally, verbally. When we go through these types of abuses, and oftentimes it goes under or not reported at all. And so it's a huge problem. A lot of times how we experience our first sexual experience
Hmm.
colors what happens next. You had young men that have gone on to become abusers themselves, or
Hmm.
coerce people into sexual experiences before they may have been ready because that's how they were introduced to sex. So it has far ranging implications.
So it sounds like whatever happened to them younger also becomes a part of them and is also contained within their sexual experiences. They grow older as men and they wonder why they have a certain preference. And it could be related directly to what happened to them possibly as a youth.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it like this, let's use this example. So a 15-year-old girl gets approached for sexual favors and relationship by a 20-year-old man. Even if she consents to it and she gives into it, he's really in control.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people would see that as, oh, that's a grown man preying on a young woman. That's rape. Well, let's reverse it. We have a 15-year-old young man that's being approached, and I mean pretty aggressively, by a 20-year-old woman for
Hmm.
sexual relations and a relationship, and how do we see that? Do we see that as a conquest? Do we see as, boy, you lucky, man, she gonna school you, she gonna teach you, or is she taking it? Is it a rape?
Hmm. Yeah, that word becomes pretty interesting when you take it from a perspective of a male and female. Normally, when it comes to men, you don't hear that word used. But I heard you talking about older women or even older men, and I think the word is what, grooming,
Yeah,
that happens.
for
What does
sure.
grooming actually means?
Grooming is when somebody that has more experience than you is slowly coercing you into a situation that you may not be ready for. They're slowly introducing things to you and normalizing things as if something that is really problematic or potentially traumatic is seen as the norm for you. And so you get into this place where you're like, oh, well, everybody's doing this, or this is normal. This is how love looks, or this is how relationships go. If you really love me, this is what you do. Those type of coercive tactics come into play with grooming. It's just subtle things that chip away at those pieces of you that something's not right. That's grooming.
Those sound like predators to me.
Yeah.
They preying on the weak.
One of the things that when you look at bullies, they're preying on weaker people. When you look at predators, I often work with people that have sexual behavior problems. They prey on the innocence of others. They're students of human nature, and they absolutely find your vulnerable points, and they press down on them.
I know we even talked about young people, but does it happen to adults? Are adults groomed?
Absolutely. You would be surprised how easily and how often adults are groomed into situations that they may or may not be prepared for. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that experience physical and sexual abuse at a young age carry that into adulthood, and they really have hard times noticing the red flags that people may have that others see readily. And their friends and family members may be trying to tell you, hey, that person's not safe for you, or that person doesn't really have your best interests at heart. And you, because of your prior victimization, may be like, oh, it's fine. He's just like that, or she's just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're being groomed into situations that you may not be prepared for, or it could be sexual experiences, physical violence experiences. It may start off as just a word that's said, and then it may be a tone, and then it may be a small gesture or a nudge, and then it's a slap, then it's
Mm-hmm.
straight out physical abuse, or it's a rape, and it's normalized and you're blamed for it. And then you begin to develop learned helplessness. Yeah, man, it's a slippery slope that gets really dark really fast.
Dead. Um, Growing up as a young kid and a young boy, I've heard about girls being messed with, girls being taken advantage of, but not once do I remember ever hearing about something happening to a young boy or a man. And it's like it almost had me believing that it never happens. But as I got older, I come to the realization that it does happen. Why aren't we really talking about this?
That's a great question. It goes right back to, this whole belief system that men and boys as victims, especially teenagers and grown men as victims, is really challenged by our cultural beliefs and standards. Research has shown many times that men are far less seen to be victims of sexual
Mm,
abuse or victims of physical or intimate partner violence than women are. It's almost like there's been a dehumanization of men in the sense that men are seen as less prone to be victimized
mhm,
because there's a belief that women can't abuse men, when we all know that that is not the case, where women have verbally, physically, sexually, emotionally abused men, and from a young age at times, and sometimes throughout a relationship. There's extensive research that shows that men have often been seen as less able to be victimized. However, newer research is showing that, that is far less the case, that men are experiencing victimization at far higher levels than previously reported.
Dr. Ross, you made me think about something. I remember one of my guys back in the day was telling me he was messing with this older woman, and I think we were probably like maybe 17. I think she was in her 30s. And like you said, we thought it was a rite of passage. We thought that, hey, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You must be doing something right that this older lady wants you, and not really thinking at that time that she was taking advantage of him. She was grooming him because she was manipulating him. That right there, as I got older, is like, wow, something that I thought or something that we praised actually shouldn't be praised. That woman, I'ma say it, she probably should have went to jail.
Yeah. No, bro, you're right. So many black men have experienced their first sexual experience with an older woman, and man, lost their virginity. We can go to popular media right now. So we
Mhm.
know some artists such as there was an NPI interview done in 2009. It was titled "Sexual Abuse is Often Taboo for Black Boys."
Uh-huh.
Okay, look it up. But in that interview, the rapper Lil Wayne talked about his sexual history. Wayne says he lost his virginity at the age of 11 to a 14-year-old girl. Now,
Right.
some people may say, well, they're in the same kind of window, but 11 and 14 are two different things. We're talking about potentially a fifth grader with a high
Mhm.
school freshman. Those are two different elements right there. That's sexual abuse. That's childhood sexual abuse. We'll fast forward. You know, Little Wayne's story also coincides with many others. So Chris Brown, we know Chris Brown. Chris Brown
Mhm.
claimed he lost his virginity at the age of 8. T.I. was on the Tyra Banks story. He told Tyra Banks he lost his virginity when he was 11. T-Pain was only 10 when he lost his virginity. to Flavor Flav from Public Enemy in that same interview confessed that he was 6 years old when he had his first sexual experience. 6. You know, from you're flaccid. There's no hair on there's no maturation. Speaking of that, D. Ray Davis, he was on DJ Vlad's show and he said he was 11. He was 11 going on 12 when 2 30-plus year old ugly women exposed sexually assaulted him, man. And he says, I didn't even have hair on my man. I didn't even have, there was nothing about me that showed that I was like ready for that experience. This man is 11 going on 12 when a 30 plus year old women took advantage of him sexually. You know, if that's not enough, Peter Guns, he said he was recently sexually assaulted by an older woman as a child, and she threatened him and made him scared to tell. And so Peter Gunn says that impacted him in his future relationships because he said fast forward into his adolescence when he was, 13, 14, 15, when kids are like holding hands, maybe kissing, maybe doing some touching and heavy petting and stuff. That's about as far as it's going to go because that's what they're ready for. Man, he said he was pressuring girls to have sex with him. And like, if they didn't have sex, they didn't love him and they didn't really like him and all these other things. And he says, man, now today, I came to regret that because that's all a part of my victimization. I didn't have to be that guy, but that's because that's how it was introduced to me. And I mean, these stories of famous people are not different from a lot of these young brothers out here. There's a lot of guys that have this experience where they had their first sexual experience. They may not have been ready. They didn't know what their body would do. They didn't know what the woman's body could do or would do. They may not have ever even seen a naked woman besides their mother or something in a magazine back then. It wasn't like today with the phones and everything so just wide
Mm-hmm.
open. Sex is everywhere. And it leads to and it fuels that further sexualization, man. We're not even going to get into porn and how that skews people's brains on what positive sex is. That's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole nother one, huh?
Hmm.
So what I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the things that we called experiences as young boys to be proud of was actually trauma being placed upon us, happening to us, and exists right now to today within us.
Yes. And it's impacting our families, it's impacting our community. Yes, absolutely. It's impacting our relationships. It's impacting expectations. It's changing things generationally. Definitely, yes. Mhm. And these types of conversations happen in here or in barbershops or in the park or while playing dominoes or whatever it is, man. These are the conversations that need to happen within our community to make sure that young brothers understand and these other brothers that have been victimized understand, you got a place to talk.
Hmm.
There's a safe space for that. Yeah.
Who recognize themselves in this conversation. It may have happened to them. Where do they begin? Is there any help out there?
Counseling is not just for white folks, and it doesn't mean you crazy. Go to counseling, man. Go to talk to somebody that you trust. If you don't want to go to counseling, talk to a pastor, talk to a coach, talk to somebody that you trust that is looking out for you, a mentor, an uncle, somebody that you trust. There's national resources out there. The National Sexual Abuse Hotline. The number is 1-800-656-HOPE. They're available 24/7. But you have resources in your area, man. Tell somebody something because they'll be able to help you get some help. There's counselors out here, there's people out here that care about you and that want to help you move through this situation. Peer pressure is real, and
Hmm.
you do not have to give in to peer pressure to have sex with anyone that you're not ready to. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say no if you don't want to. It's all right.
That word punk. Men, as men, we like, I'm not no punk. You don't want to be called a punk. So you could be forced into doing something just because you want to appear a certain way in front of other people. You could say no. You can go ahead and not follow the crowd. You can go ahead and stand out and do your own thing. But going back to what I was saying about my friend, we were we were like coaching him, excited for him to go ahead and do this. And that what happened actually is triggering right now to him. It bothers him right now. That's because he's older now and he's had time to reflect and
Right.
think about, wow, this is why I do this. This is why I act like that. When it's come to women.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah, man, it impacts you in a lot of different ways, man. I mean, it's impacted marriages, it's impacted relationships. I mean, even the things that we teach young men, even though we know that for us that may have been personally traumatizing because we don't want our sons or our nephews or our grandsons to be perceived as weak or punks or whatever. We may perpetuate the stereotypes and myths and be like, yeah, man, get out there and do your thing, but make sure you use protection, you know? We have to send a message that, hey, it's okay to hold on to your manhood. It's okay to keep your pride tied, man, until you're ready to
Hmm.
put yourself out there and you're in a committed, loving relationship where you can have an honest, healthy conversation with your partner. Go get checked out. Both of y'all get screened to make sure everybody's safe, nobody's has any diseases or infections, and have the sexual experience that you both deserve. Not just in some back room somewhere because you got 5 minutes to kind of grind up on each other, or you don't have to do the things that you don't feel comfortable doing. It's okay to say no. It's all right.
All right. Unpack family. Today's conversation reminds us that trauma does not discriminate, and neither should compassion. Too many boys grow up believing that their pain doesn't matter, that being victimized shows or makes them think they're weak or they're not a man, and they believe that. But silence doesn't heal wounds, only truth does. If there's someone you know, hopefully someone you can go ahead and reach out to who may benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Remember, a boy cannot consent to sex. Abuse is abuse. Trauma is trauma. But healing is possible. Man, Dr. Ross, thank you for joining us again and helping us unpack this important conversation. People need to know this stuff.
Absolutely, bro. I truly believe it, man. This is the ministry. This is what we're about. And I mean, I got into this to help our community. And so, however I can, we can get the word out there. I appreciate you putting this platform together for these young brothers and these young families. And so, we need more brothers like you to get behind the mic and open up the platforms for all of our Black excellence to come out and share. They allow us to reach far more people than we ever could before.
Mm,
And so, I'm glad you have this out here, brother. Proud of you, man. Keep going.
thank you. This has been Unpack, where we unpack what hurts so we can heal what's hidden, providing a safe space for men of color to be heard and seen. Until next time, take care of yourself, check in on one another, and remember, you matter.